Alright folks, and welcome to 5.7 America. We are already 2 kills in now. As you can see, that is double strike. I unfortunately started recording a little late. You can see the smouldering wreck of a tiger in the background there. That was the first one. And as you can see, I am on Conquest Mosdoc. This is, I believe, a 6.3 battle. There's T-44s and Fiats driving around. And I've come out towards these little sort of central ridges over on the western flank, primarily to make sure that nobody can flank around us as well, but also it gives me fantastic vision on stopping things getting to the cap. The alternative is to go into the east up the mountains there, but with a little more sort of tree cover in the way and a bit more height, it's a bit harder to always get the shots where you need them. I've got a bit more vision out here. I can peek over the top of the hills, see what's coming. I much prefer playing on this side of the map. It is a little more prone to getting flanked, so I've got to keep my wits about me. But you can see there's a massive cluster of Germans down there, so go for the Panther A first. That's kill number 3. Could have been 4 if I'd hit slightly better on that previous Tiger. VFW, an absolute nightmare of a vehicle to try and take out like this. As you can see, there is just absolutely nothing, no spoil at all from that gun shield. The breach is absolutely tiny. The crew are pretty spaced out in there as well, and it doesn't hull break. So VFW is a really nasty thing to encounter. I do feel it needs a bit of a nerf, but thankfully it turned its turret to the side, so I was able to machine gun it. I've just spotted something driving up behind me. It's only a Puma, who didn't appear to notice me straight away, so there we go. Just knock him out. 50 cals to finish him off. Again, gotta keep my eyes out behind me all the time. And the rest of my team are flagging up quite a few things north of the cap, but I've still got this little cluster down here to deal with. So there goes another Panther. That's kill number 6. Now I noticed there is a bit of fire over the hill and a tiger marked up on the map, so I started turning around. Got a little bit distracted by chevrons, marked vehicles in the distance, just trying to see if I could get a shot on anything there. And distracted enough that I didn't notice the tiger actually died. So after another brief check, I started heading this way, see if I can get a flanking shot on it. Only to, of course, discover it's not there anymore. A little slow on the uptake sometimes. In my previous analysis video, I talked about observational skills and paying attention to the surroundings. Now, obviously I failed to notice that missing tiger, but I did notice the Panzer 470, so still worth coming this way in the end. I do need to pay more attention to that kill feed though. Now there was brief movement up there. There we go. That's now a crippled Panther. Can't turn his turret, he can't drive off. So move out to get a follow-up shot and finish him off. And get taken out by a fresh spawn Panzer 470. Got a very long sight line down there coming out of his spawn. I do like playing on the western flank here, but it is risky to push past that sort of central road. Now we are managing to get the cap back. Whether we could say I've really contributed to that or not, don't know. I've got 7 kills. Obviously I've picked up a fair few things that were headed back to the cap, but I myself haven't put pressure on the capture point itself. My team has managed to push it a bit further up in the east. As I've already established, I can't go sort of past that central line in the west, so there's no further advancement to be made there. So I'm going to head over into the east with everyone else up here and see if I can get a bit further around behind the cap, maybe behind some of the people that are attacking, and get some flanking shots from the other side. If you're wondering why it's the M4A3 instead of the M36, this is on my second account, which did not at this point have the M36 unlocked. So no real choice there. This is my best backup option. But it's a fair drive, so I'm just going to skip ahead. Not too far, just a minute or so, but enough to cut out a fair bit of driving and get towards more of the action. First we have a whirlwind, which I've missed, and then behind him there is a tiger just sat on that hill. So position myself where I can see, but I'm hopefully slightly obscured by the trees. Quick side shot. I was actually hoping to hit a bit lower, sort of behind the tracks where it's thinner, but it doesn't matter. He's on a shallow enough angle that it's going to go through either way. Now, one of my allies up here has been taken out. I believe the enemy who killed him is also gone. I've got a few allies flanking even further around into the corner. Whether that's necessary, don't know. There's always that one person who tries to flank, right to the extreme crawler map edge. Hopefully in this case it's our player and not an opponent, because that wouldn't end very well for me. As I've mentioned before, there is a lot of tree cover up here, and it can't always be the easiest to spot people. The whirlwind I saw earlier did retake the point, but is swiftly dealt with by the IS-1, who's now going to move down and retake A. But there is a Fiat roaming around somewhere in the west, so probably a good job I didn't go that way in the end. Pure luck, of course, that it worked out this way. Another day I may have chosen to go that way. The Fiat's not going to be the easiest thing to spot, and I probably wouldn't have been looking for it because all I knew about was that Jagdpanzer 470. So I probably wouldn't have ended up dying to him, and we'd be in a much worse position right now. But still going to keep pushing up, looking for targets through the trees. There's one. Now, that is enough angle to pen it, but my initial shot was a little high. However, he's turned a much more broadside onto me, so take out the engine and we can finish him off. In fairness to this guy, I think that's more about the way the hit markers work. If a shot ricochets, it tends to show the hit being from the direction that the shell sort of leaves at, so he probably thought the shot came from the other side due to how the hit markers work. It's a bit frustrating, honestly. It's not really poor play on his part. I think he just got a bit tricked by the game. So the position I'm in at the moment is pretty good. I'm quite far forwards. Obviously not as far forwards as that one guy who skirted the edge of the map. And I really should be paying more attention to the cap. I tend to watch the approach to the cap sort of coming from their spawn. It's where you expect the most traffic, of course. But as we can already see from that Panzer IV getting on it, they will often be coming around from the west and sneaking on that side, so yeah, I could do a better job of covering the cap like this. If that happens again, they could end up taking it. We could end up on a massive ticket bleed, and at the very least I would have to leave this position to try and retake it. So moving back a little more towards the cap, and hopefully now I'll be in a better position to make sure nothing takes it. At the very least I should be able to shoot it before it finishes the capture if something does get on. Now there's the Ostwind. There goes another Puma in the background. Very lucky on hull break. It's a super unreliable mechanic. I can't remember the last time I hull broke a Puma, but thankfully that time it worked out. I've got a decent spot, as I said. I want to stay here. The ally who pushed up the eastern map edge has died, and that Fiat is still rolling around down there, sort of causing havoc. So we are losing tanks quite quickly. I'm currently the furthest forwards player we've got. There's the Fiat. So that's one problem area dealt with. But I'm the furthest forwards. I've really got to listen for engines. I've got to keep my eye out because it's kind of hard to see through a lot of these trees. And the enemy is going to know I'm up here after having shot quite a few people. So I've really got to pay sort of maximum attention to my surroundings, which, as previously discussed, not always my strongest suit. Especially in situations like this. I'm playing on stream, there's actually music playing in the background, although it's, you know, muted for the video. Sort of clouds the senses. I get distracted by chat. Yeah, my observation, not always the greatest. If it wasn't for smoke from guns, I probably wouldn't spot half as much stuff. That and the Germans' unfortunate choice of camouflage. So many of their mid-tier tanks are in that desert camo, which stands out a bit more against the green background. Can't seem to replicate that pen, so bit of movement. There goes another 470. They're a real tough nut to crack at the moment. There's the 4G, so finish him as well. That's kill number 15. We've got a flak bus who is evidently looking for me. That's number 16. Got another target. Again, it's the gun smoke that's giving it away. The amount of pressure I've put on here has allowed my team to get up and retake the cap. I've mentioned it in the past, but I don't really like going to capture points if I can avoid it. Obviously, someone has to, and it's unfair to always put it on the rest of my team, but if I get a choice, I'm going to try and avoid doing it. There are a lot of people who do like going for caps because it gives a reasonable chunk of research points. I'm never really fussed about research, so I'm quite happy to avoid that and avoid the death. But a lot of people do really want to take them, so I'm happy to let them do it. I might not have known the Werble was there if he hadn't fired. He fired at quite a reasonable range as well, with a very small amount of my tank visible. He may have otherwise been able to sneak up behind me and just absolutely shred me through the engine or through the side. But he gave himself away. It would seem like he was going on a bit of a flanking mission, trying to get around and clear me out, in which case he should have probably been a bit stealthier about it. Now, counter to that, of course, my gun is a lot more effective, especially with the APHE God round, so when I see a glimmer through the trees, I'm much more confident about taking a shot at it. I will still reveal myself, of course. Not always. I've got quite a few trees between me and the target there. I waited a bit for the shot, so the smoke might be a bit less visible. But often all I need is a hit, whereas that whirlwind was far too far away to actually cause meaningful damage. So, of course, I had no idea what it was. Had I known it was a VFW, I wouldn't have bothered, because, as mentioned before, they are a pain to take out. Now, I've knocked out the gun crew, and I've knocked out the tracks on this Panther. His crew will return before I can get a second reload. Now that shot looks like it actually hit higher, but the server says it was lower. And with any good game, there's always some luck involved, and hopefully that Panther just whiffed his shot. And even more thankfully, that Panther didn't notice. That's another 2 down, that's kill number 20. And this is really just how I like to play it in all games. I'll find a decent spot if I can, one where I've got a bit of movement I can play about with, and just go for ambushes. again, another whirlwind who's... He probably could have got a lot closer before taking those shots. He fired at me on an angle, he fired at me from a reasonable distance, especially against the M4A3. The earlier M4A1, he probably would have got through. It's got much weaker sides, especially behind the track. But yeah, he's not really got any chance against this, and he showed his hand a bit too early again. If he's going for the flank with a whirlwind, you really want to try and get as close as you can, wait for that perfect angle. Of course, the closer you get, the more chance of hearing the engine, but it's still better than doing that, firing off too early and just getting yourself shot. But we're up to 21 kills. A real solid game. Some luck, of course. There's always luck, but it's been a solid round. We've got the cap under control. The enemy team is pretty much wiped out. I've avoided being bombed for once, and yeah, pretty pleased with it overall. I've never quite understood some of the complaints with the Shermans, especially the 76s. After the penetration buff, I mean even before the penetration buff, I thought they were honestly pretty fantastic. Not the most powerful tanks of the tier, but absolutely solid. I don't have many problems with them. And after the penetration buff, they're even better. I see a lot of hate for mid-tier America, but yeah, fantastic in my eyes. The shot stop stabilizer really helps when you need those very quick shots. So there we have it, 21 kills, great round. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you next time.